Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what are we at now? The 407th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. Yes, it is I, Travis Snell, here again, alone. All by my lonesome, all by myself, but I'm holding down the fort the best I can. If you're watching live on video, two things. One, my fancy lights are broken, so you get to see the nice broad daylight. You see what it looks like? It's like yellow and like it's bright light. Like that's nice. It's clear, but like I like my lights, so that's one. And two, this is being recorded like 11:30 p.m. and whatnot. And a big apology to Maddie. Maddie was like, it's the weekend. I'll be able to stay out when you do your live stream. But I did warn him. I said, hey, when you on the weekends, unless it's a big review or I'm planning to do something with other people, it's all based on the kids' sleeping schedule and what we do. And obviously, because it's the weekend. And this was a cast that the whole week's been messed up because I meant to record like Don't Breathe and Free Guy back to back, and then Don't Breathe wouldn't play on the Thursday, and I just didn't get around to seeing it. I might on the cheap Tuesday. We'll see. Most of the complaints I've heard about it is kind of what I thought would be the case, as far as maybe you don't make a movie where the quasi hero is a sexual assault person, but good on you. Go see the movie, make a judgment for yourself. But so Maddie, if you're listening to this or watching, I'm very sorry, but it ended up being later. This is dropping on the Sunday, and then I got a bunch of newscasts coming up next week. We'll have What If popping off. I will be reviewing Reminiscence at some point. I don't really know when, because same thing like our theaters. I try to see the Thursday showing because I do prefer the theater experience and enjoy it right now until it's shut down again. But I enjoy the theater experience. And if you watch the video, I'm like leaning over like a motherfucker. Look at this. I can move my mic closer to my mouth. What was I saying? I want to see the big screen, but as of right now, both my theaters are not showing it for the Thursday like previews, so that sucks, and they don't go into the Friday yet. So I'm really hoping I get it. If not, if it's on the Thursday, I might try to see it and review it quickly. But I will say, as a little preview, I think Kirklin Patzer is on his way back next week, and I know he does want to see this. So if he wants to see this and he can't see it on Thursday because it's on HBO Max, then I'll probably wait a little bit. So that'll be coming up. Me, Dylan, and Kirkland at some point. That trio should be reviewing Ghost of Tsushima DLC. Sorry, the director's cut is coming up. And then, so this week you'll have newscasts, reviews, lots of good stuff, like at least 4 casts minimum this week popping off. You can check out, we just dropped the Age of Ultron retrospective. That one was good. I listened to a little bit. I want to re-listen to it. Not so much as far as I don't listen to podcasts where I'm on anymore, because I've been there, I've heard it, but I like to listen to these ones that we recorded 4 years ago, something like that, because I wanted to hear how wrong I was or how right I was, or just where I've changed on stuff. Like when we re-released Captain Marvel, that's a movie that I loved when I first saw it, and it was in my top 10. I still really, really enjoy it. Do I love it as much? It's definitely gone down with less, but in the moment, it's kind of fun to hear takes and whatnot, so you can check that out. I reviewed Free Guy. We're going to talk about Free Guy a little bit today, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. And thank you if you are listening to this. Suicide Squad, so a bunch of stuff. As always, you got the 4 separate feeds. You got the GeekVerse one, the review feed, the news feed, the retrospective feeds. Those feeds that I just mentioned, they have those solo-based episodes. And then if you want everything, just subscribe to GeekVerse Podcast. But if you really like what we do, head over to Patreon, and you can get the great benefits we partake. There's tons of stuff on there. After 9, which we don't know when the next one is. We'll see. We might try and squeeze one in now. If not, probably September. We'll see. So patrons, if you're wondering, just because Taylor's Away, Kirkland's Way, my project that's happening is the first week of September, so it's kind of tough. And then we have other stuff going on. So the whole people going away for a month, that was a monkey wrench. But when we do our call-in shows, you can join the phase 2 tier, and you get to call in and talk with us, talk with other listeners. It's tons of fun. So hopefully, if it's not August, sometime beginning of September, ad-free, early, exclusive episodes. You can get Dexter Retrospective on there. I've done season 1. I will be doing season 2 and 3 soon. I have watched them. I got them banked. The Harry Potter retros up there. A bunch of just exclusive commentary tracks. So tons of fun stuff. If you cannot subscribe and support us there, we completely understand. Head over to your podcatcher of choice. Please subscribe, rate, review. Specifically, if you got Apple Podcasts, please give a 5-star written review. That legitimately helps. As I always say, it'll get people in their news feed, in their algorithm, stuff like that. And subscribe on YouTube, because right now I'm not live, but the video will be going up there. So you can see my glorious yellow bulbs. I have 2 bulbs that are yellow and then one's that white. I got to change them both to white, Well, and like, obviously I like my fancy lights, but I don't have them right now. So it would be nice there. I'm trying to think. Check out our podcast network. We got 8 shows there now, 6 days a week. So you can just go over to our website, their Twitter accounts, follow them there. The week after, we have talking about newscasts. The week after, could be pretty busy depending on news, but we have CinemaCon and GameCon, and we're going to be covering all that. So I think there could be, if the news is there, we're going to do like 3 newscasts, and then we got Candyman. So if you like our newscasts, if you like lots of podcasts, subscribe, because we're going to be dropping tons. And obviously, we'll talk about a little stuff with Venom going on, but still lots of stuff happening in September as well. So I think that is everything. Let's get into this newscast. So originally I only had like a few topics, and I think that was the other thing too, of like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna let it build a few days, and then some got on the way, and then like, oh crap. So usually this dropping one on the weekend is not our go-to, because usually we're all busy, but everyone's asleep right now. I'm still up. I had some popcorn, been watching Dexter. So I was like, you know what? I want to do this because there's lots of topics. And plus, if Kirklin does get come back next week for a newscast, we've talked about doing a catch up and giving him a bunch of stuff. I've talked about giving him a bunch of topics and giving him a true or false if it's real or not. So, because he's been out of I think he's only had Wi-Fi a couple times. He was camping. So has no idea. He's like, he feels so lost. So could be a fun one. So let's pull up some news here and we'll talk about the main topic, right? Check out on our podcast network Marvel Alliance, because they covered this very well, and those 2 guys are very smart, and there's a reason why I put them in that position. But they had covered this originally, and not much has changed other than Simuli's comments. So we're going to talk about this. So if you didn't know, we had Shang Chi. Well, we had the investors call come last Thursday, right? It was, I don't know, whatever the date was, the 11th, 12th, whatever it was. Last Thursday, we had the investors call Disney, and pretty much everyone tuned in just to hear what's going to happen with Shang-Chi and see if there'll be any announcements. Because people say, even some people on Twitter were like, hey, like, don't expect much big things from these. These are just calls. But I'm pretty sure where we originally first learned about the casting Andor show was just in a call randomly. Like Uncle Bob just dropped it, and they always drop stuff like this. One, it's good to hear about the business. I listen to it like Brent. 2, I always forget the parks are the biggest thing. Majority of the questions and updates are about the parks, but and ad revenue. But so they got to Shang-Chi, but not really. They kind of got to overall and what their plan was. They said that they're planning on staying theatrical. And here's what's interesting, because we've kind of been back and forth, that I've heard a few people that, as far as podcasters that I know are way higher up on the food chain than me, that have sources that kind of dispute what Bob Chapek says. And I haven't actually talked about the GUA people. So if you're listening, hit me up in the chat and I'll tell you who. I don't want to name drop whatnot. But so this call happens. The plan is for Free Guy, which Free Guy was coming out that day. I don't know why they had to specify that, but Free Guy and Shang-Chi are going to be theatrical only with the 45-day window release. Now, that's not all fine and dandy, but still, there's so much to cover in this angle, right? That's happened. It's not even just that announcement. It's just how he said it, how it was presented, what Simu Lee said, what's happening with the world right now. Let's start with Chapek. We have talked about this with Black Widow, the handling of that situation as far as ScarJo. If what she's saying is true, not good, right? And that falls on all these rumors. Feige was disappointed with it, Iger was disappointed with it, and that falls on Chapek. Now, he may not make the full-on decision to, not talk to this and that, but still, when you're the leader, if there's some big screw-ups, it falls on you, because it falls on you to change that person up who made that decision, whatever. So we've heard that happened. I talked about a few weeks ago, there is a few months ago reports on Variety. The Wrap published an article just a few weeks ago of it feels like apparently there's two camps, and you're either like Team Iger or Team Chapek. And it sounds like there's a lot more people that are Team Iger or just not on Team Chapek as far as late. So it's been interesting that because past decade, I kind of say like that 2012 to Endgame era, not much controversy. Of course there is. There's some stuff they do, shitty stuff, things like that. But as far as it's like in the press, that's more of a Warner Brothers sort of deal, or Sony's emails leaking, sort of that thing. So he says that it's going to be, theatrical. Okay, we talked about that it might be. Myself and a few others, I just felt like you either had to delay it or you had to announce the premiere access. And that's the thing where now we have Suicide Squad, which I'll talk about a little bit later, not doing great. Even Free Guy, who is, it's doing well enough, but still, like, these numbers that movies are putting up right now are not great. And we're getting to a case where, especially in North America, some of the COVID cases are as high as when before they're saying we're not going to release a movie. Like, remember Sony being like, we're not going to release a movie in this landscape that's over whatever 200 million. And yeah, they don't have a $200 million movie, but still, it's like this. Yeah, we'll talk about it again. You'll like, maybe I'll just talk about it now because it's not much of a difference. Like, Venom got delayed 3 weeks. I don't think that'll be the first time Venom got delayed, and maybe I will shelf that because there's more to talk about that with Spider-Man and Morbius. We'll get there. So he said, Bob Chapek, he said that it's going to be, I think he said, an interesting or fun, whatever that may be, an experiment. Now, here's the thing. He's not wrong. Like, we all know that it's going to be an experiment, but I think for us, the difficult thing is, what do you pick to do the experiment on, right? And especially when you have a movie like this that is, you can't name many, Asian-led superhero films. You know why? Because I don't think there are any. There's people that have been supporting cast, but no one that's the main star on the poster. So again, there's this debate of, oh, China's not going to play it. They feel like it's pandering. That's fine. There's been lots of people bringing up like, hey, I don't care what China thinks. I care about like me as like an Asian person, not me if you're just listening the first time, but someone that I saw saying like, me as an Asian person in North America, this movie still means a lot for me. I don't care about other people that might want to ban this movie from a country because it's pandering. It means a lot to me. And I saw a preview for it again with Free Guy, and the previews remind me so much of Black Panther, with the music, the style, and just like, man, this was going to be a big moment. But he says it's going to be an experiment. And we knew that any movie you did this right or did this with was going to be an experiment. What you need to do, though, is not use those words. Now, he did say this when it was asked in the Q&A session, so it was not a prepared statement. But even then, just be like, you're releasing Shang-Chi, and we're really hopeful. Like, we got a great movie here, great cast, and you can lie and say internally, we've seen the movie, we think it's fantastic, we think people are going to love it, and we're really excited, and we're hoping that people are going to come out and really support this movie. There's a million ways to spin it instead of it's an interesting experiment. Because one, you just shouldn't say that about any product, I feel, that's dealing with multi-millions, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I've never had to deal with multi-villains, so maybe one day if I am, you can ask me. But at that point, I go, like, as a stockholder or board member, I'd go, uh, experiment. Like, I hope you're a little more confident on it. And two, like I was talking about earlier, there is this idea of, oh, you're referring to the, you know, person of color led film as the experiment, and people worry because if you look at all old Hollywood, it's like one movie with a female led action star in it fails or buckles. They go, oh, well, no, that's it. We can't do female led action movies. You see, they don't do well at the box office, stuff like that. And Hollywood will do that all the time just to kind of stick in their norm. So like, there's no one that can deny that this is an experiment, because what I was talking about earlier is he had said, like, due to distribution deals and all this stuff, but there have been someone that said they heard from a few people that said that's bullshit, that they could have pulled it. They could have said, hey, no, we really want to put on premiere access, or we really want to delay it. So, and that, like, a big corporation lying, not surprising. Bob Chapek so far is not proving to be the greatest replacement. I'm kind of what Brent said, where I'll give him a little longer. It's growing pains. It's also just like, it's tough for anybody in this sort of situation, right? This is like unprecedented, or it hasn't happened for decades and decades. So when they are talking about maybe, they weren't talking about Disney Plus and streaming and Premier Access like when polio was happening, right? So that's where it's like it's a completely different landscape, even if pandemics have happened before. But you just got to be on the ball, and you got to, and that's my thing of where I don't think I said I think I give him 2 more years because, and it is early on, so things can change. But it's just like when you saw that comment, most people went like that. Uh, Uncle Bob wouldn't say that. Iger, I guess I should say Uncle Iger just to be safe. But like Iger, he was so, even if he made a mistake, he's very smooth in the press. That's why the whole rumor is like he might be running for office. Like he knows how to play the game. He knows how to say the right things, not to say the wrong things. And that's like maybe Chapek is it's growing pains, so that could be it. But it also could just be maybe he's not cut out for this big of a mantle. So we'll see going forward. But he said that got a really bad reception online, of course, and it should. I agree that it is an experiment, but I'm in the case where they should have, if they were, let's say, whatever the scenario was, that no matter what they're going to do, Shang-Chi theatrical. Let's say it was true what Chapek was saying. They signed some contracts, and no matter what, Shang-Chi has to be theatrical, 45-day window. I do think that they should have, and I think it will happen after this, because I said a few weeks ago, like, oh, we're going to get a bunch of delays. They're going to shift everything. Now, Shang-Chi right now, stay in the third, stay in theatrical. I think that will come out, do very poorly, pretty poorly, in my opinion. And then the slate will get moved or all this stuff because here's the thing that the projections right now are, and I guess I should say one thing before I get into the projections, just to do with Samuel Lee. He tweeted out today. I got to find the exact tweet, but he tweeted out, just because I don't want to misquote him here, something kind of again. And this is the thing where like kind of against what Bob Chapek was saying, which you don't want as far as like I'd never heard too many people going against Iger, and you don't want that narrative of people. It kind of feels like the Warner Brothers thing, right? Of people speaking out against a company, and they've never really had that MCU and Disney and whatnot. And it's just, I don't know, it's not something you would want to have going on. So let's see, I'm almost at it here. But either way, he was saying, here we go. We are not an experiment. We are the underdog, the underestimated. We are the ceiling breakers. We are the celebration of culture and joy that will preserve after embattled year. Sorry. We are the surprise. I'm fired the fuck up to make history. September 3rd. Join us. Now, I don't think he's wrong for saying that. And I definitely think the experiment thing makes sense because that was like I said, shitty thing to say in public. Even if it is, you don't say that about this project, in my opinion. So that was right take shot. When he says like we're the underdogs, we're the ceiling breakers, I love that he's hopeful. I love that he's putting that out there. I just worry that it's kind of people are going to use it against him as well, look, it wasn't that good. Like you guys said you guys were gonna be the underdog ceiling breakers, and look at what it did. Like I think he's unfortunately, and it's good to be positive, but he's writing checks with his mouth or his Twitter machine that the box office cannot cash. And it's not because this is the thing, because there's so many people. We've talked about that a few times in GUA and a little in GV, and then just a few people I follow on Twitter as far as like there's a few people that are just dickheads that are literally comparing this box office to regular times. You can't do that. It's a completely different landscape. I'm fine with, you can talk about it and you can say, hey, there were these expectations the same way Suicide Squad for a while was just 30 plus, right? 30 million plus, that's what's going to do. So when it does 26 million, I'm allowed to still say, hey, that could be a disappointment, even though adjusting hey, it's about still with the pandemic, right? Right now, the projections for Shang-Chi are, I think the low end is 30 million and the high end is 55. I've seen, again, this is the problem because we have a different benchmark for what success is now, right? I've seen people say that's going to be awful. I saw, oh, if they do that, that's great. I don't agree with the great part because, in my opinion, you have Black Widow that got what, 80 million? So you got 80 in we'll just talk North American, 80 in the North American box office, and then 60 on the Disney Plus Premier Access. So obviously with the theater cut, you lose some money, you don't keep it all. But really, if let's say you kept it all, it was 140, okay? I think this would be lower than it would be, but let's say after all the percentages are gone, everything like that, maybe Black Widow made like opening weekend 100 million. You're telling me that Shang-Chi is going to open, and Shang-Chi is a lesser known character, so I get it, but it's going to open up maybe more than half down, like more than half below Black Widow, to me that's not good because people keep I see that a lot in narrative like, well, 80 million was made by Black Widow and then Shang-Chi was made by, if it makes 55 million, that high in the projection, it's like, well, it's only like a 30 25 million difference. That's pretty good for a new character in the pandemic. And I do agree that is good strictly box office wise because I wouldn't expect him to do the same as Black Widow unless the movie just pops out big like a Black Panther, right? In before times. This is a situation where it's like, okay, so let's say it does make 55 million. Let's just go 50. It's easier math for me. Makes 50 million. 30 million less than Black Widow, but then it's also that where all those 60 million premiere access. Now, you can make the debate as far as when you go Suicide Squad, that HBO crowd, lots of them, other than the people watching it, could be torrenting it and watching it, stuff like that. So with this, though, that 60 million of Disney Premier Access, subscriptions or whatever purchases were bought. 60 million worth. That again, we've talked about before. You can take less percentages off of that than you would box office, if any, right? So to me, that's where it's like, if you don't take any percentages, that's $140 million opening weekend versus a $50 million opening weekend, and you get less of that 50. That's not good. Now, I think 50, if they hit it, is okay. It's like, what is the bar now? It's just like we're living in a world where we'll see tomorrow. By the time you're listening to this, you've probably heard, but like Free Guy's projected to make the same, if not more, than Suicide Squad at the box office, which is crazy to me. I know people like Ryan Reynolds and stuff, but I mean, like, even in these conditions, I thought, well, Suicide Squad would do a little bit better, and it hasn't. Apparently, the rumored take for Saturday was like 2.9, or Friday was 2.9. It's like it was an 81% drop. Matt, and like, what a crazy stat that it was Gatisha Panda, I think is how you say it. I've been following it for quite a while, and it's funny that like I've been following it for a while, and then once I talk to GUA people, they're like, "Oh, I do too." It's really good service, and especially after Box Office Mojo just destroyed their website. It's a good account. On opening day for the 2016 Suicide Squad, it made 64 million. Right now, the projected North American total income for Suicide Squad is 42 million. That's what we're dealing with right now. And that's why I think if they were just stuck to doing, as far as Shang-Chi going, stuck to doing theatrical, they should have delayed. I just don't see, come September 3rd, when America is, I think they're like 120,000. Like, hopefully they're going down, but they're having upward trend, but they're 120,000 from having their biggest cases ever. They're at, like, yesterday was like 108,000. Us in Canada are going up, like, it's just completely shitty as far as now. We're like, well, we can't even do my youngest daughter's birthday, and it just sucks. And luckily she's younger, so she won't have memory of it, but still, like, for us to have those moments with her would be great, because we didn't get to do Christmas with her, and now her birthday, it's like, well, we might have her parents over, my parents over, and that's about it. No friends, no cousins, no, especially the cousins she plays with. It's a frustrating time because people are idiots. Get vaccinated, wear your fucking mask. But either way, cases are going up again, right? So I would have personally delayed it further. I just don't think September. I think it is. They say experiment. I think it's more of like a sacrificial lamb. So maybe if they were getting pressed before, like, don't delay these movies again, like, we want them out, they could put it. They'll say, hey, look, we just put it theatrical, no premiere access. Like you said, you guys want it out there. You want to see the repeat viewings. Look at it, and if it dies, which it will, I've talked about this before. It's not an experiment. We know how it's gonna go. We really do. Like Free Guy being a success, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But it's being like, oh, might get a sequel. That's great, but that's like Free Guy, and even then, it's like, I want to see a lot of these after, when the world gets a bit normal again, which apparently will be forever because people can't get their shit together. But what is actually going to get a sequel? Like Mortal Kombat, we talked about this last week, streamed better than Suicide Squad in the first weekend, had only $3 million less than Suicide Squad, and they just, it's, as right now, as far as report, the biggest HBO Max thing. They praise, just saying, oh, so many people watched it, blah 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 blah. Why is there not a sequel announcement for that? Especially if it was so strong in HBO Max. Even if you just said, hey, we're just doing an HBO Max show or series, why did they not capitalize on that? The same way it's like, okay, sure, they said that about Wonder Woman. We'll see what happens. They said about Free Guy. They said about Jungle Cruise. I feel like that's just a lot of people saying things to maybe keep town happy, or it's almost like a, hey, yeah, we'll do a sequel because the first one didn't get a shot. So I think they'll go with sequels of, like, I think right now Free Guy is like the what is it, the best reviewed action comedy on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. So maybe they're going to go that route of like the people that enjoy it as far as critics and audiences. So there'll be a better chance that in the future, unlike Suicide Squad 1, people will like said movie and then hopefully show up for the sequel. I don't know. And yeah, Shang-Chi right now, those projections, again, to me, even if you lower it down to 100 million for Black Widow, it's still like that's half. It's just, I worry that this movie, and luckily with the MCU, Shang-Chi should probably appear in other places. He should appear, hopefully, in a sequel of his own or in Avengers, whatever it may be, and they could do a sequel after. But my worry is just that it's a footnote. It is that sacrificial lamb to be like just to use and show like, look what we did, and then yeah, they don't return back to it. Because yeah, it's just gonna be that Marvel movie that release. It's not gonna be Black Widow where it's like this is the biggest opening. This and that's like no. Now you're releasing in the middle of cases rising, a variant, and I think it is set up. I think it legitimately is almost set up to fail. Even if like I maybe my theory is wrong about them on purpose saying like, hey, we're gonna put this out because it will do bad. But to me, that's what they did with New Mutants back in the day around Tenet time. Tenet was putting out a movie, right? And there's this big argument discussion of, hey, first of all, Warner Brothers being like, you go, it's only in theaters, you got to go see it. So people talking about like, oh, they're trying to get people, to see it when they're uncomfortable, stuff like that. That's my only problem with the Simu Lee tweet. Is just like, I agree, I get what he's doing. I understand he has to promote a movie, and I understand he's passionate, so I do. But it's also just like, it's not like a regular, hey, I have a movie coming out in the regular world, go see it, support. I'm going to surprise people. I just think he's physically handcuffed and the studio's handcuffed that you can't surprise people. There's so much. We're talking about the GUA. I've seen on Facebook. I've seen on Twitter. They were talking about they've seen on TikTok. I've seen so many people say, I'm not going to be seeing Shang-Chi in the theaters. I'm not going to see it the opening weekend. I'll wait for the 45 days. Might get spoiled. It's going to suck, but it's just the case. And that's where it's like, Siemens Lee's comments, it's like, I get what he's going for, but it's also just, man, it's tough because I just don't think you're going to get that because to get that result, you're asking potentially, and I'm not putting this on him, but you're potentially asking people to go out and take a risk if cases are high and they feel uncomfortable. And that's where it's just like, especially with things I got going on. I was invited to a housewarming with just a few people, but now no, because I have this project coming in September that I cannot be sick or get anything, and I'm double vaccinated. But once after Taylor's wedding, I'm like, okay, this is it for a while. Same thing as far as the movies. I go to the late showing. I sit in the very back row. I masked up and everything like that. When I saw Free Guy, there was 3 other people in the theater. That's what I stole that gimmick from Brent when he looks at the tickets before. He goes, okay, how many people are in this theater? That's what I do, and it's just that it's difficult. It's especially for me. It's easier because in Kelowna, a smaller city, even Shang-Chi, I know. I don't think it's gonna be that packed come Thursday night. If you live in one of these bigger cities, I don't know. And it's just very difficult. And again, I understand what he's going for, but I just don't think that they'll be able to reach it because you literally have to get people to maybe risk their lives or feel uncomfortable seeing a movie. And I think people are at this point where they're just they're so in good or bad, because the people that are doing the smart things are so just upset and frustrated. The people that are doing the stupid things. It's like, man, we've been doing this soon to be like 2 years. And it's just like, we're just going to keep doing this and doing this over and over. And then there's the people that, haven't been vaccinated or, even if they want to stay home boys, which just completely makes sense. Like I said, I'm going to be doing that for the next little while. No events. And that's why we're doing like a very small birthday, stuff like that. Cause it's just, it's frustrating that these are still the cases, but to put a movie out right now on that, especially like even Venom, which is September 23rd, that delayed 3 weeks. It's like, no, and I think it will delay again, but it's like, no, we're going to try and get some more time away from this. September 3rd. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's kind of. Oh, and what I was going back to in the long term when we were talking about Simu Lee is when Tenet came out, they went, okay, we're sticking the flag down. Boom, we're only theatrical. Tenet's coming. Marvel did the same thing with Mutants. Now, to me, yes, New Mutants or Disney did the same thing. No, New Mutants was never going to do MCU numbers. It was never going to be this big hit, stuff like that. But to me, it did feel like at that time of like, hey, we're going to put this out. Let's just see what it does. It's an X-Men property, so we can promote that, see what it does box office wise, and then we'll go from there. It did poor. They delayed a bunch of stuff. That's my feeling that they're kind of doing with this again, where it's like put out Shang-Chi. And even then, I bet they might say this, it's a lesser known hero. So if people don't see it, it's fine because we'll have our Thors, we'll have our Doctor Stranges, we'll have all this stuff. And let's hope for that 50 million, because at least it's like, well, the way you can spin it, people might not think about it. It's like, okay, it is only $3 million less than Black Widow. He is an unknown character, and that's where I do wonder with the GA is like. I think in regular times, of course, you see that Marvel banner. I want to see the next episode of Marvel. I want to see this new character, new world, new edition. How does this relate to the other movies? I think Shang Chi is a character, unfortunately, that people might see a preview for or a poster and they go, I could wait 45 days just because there's not much connection as of right now. It's looking to the Avengers or anything like that. Doesn't look like anything massive is happening. Like if Spider-Man trailer drops and we get the three, Spider-Man together, that's like, okay, that's pushing me. This is just like, and then maybe it will be opening week or like a second weekend, third weekend, but I think it's pushing people away to not do this. And like I said, that's what I saw a bunch of my time. I was like, I'm not going to be seeing this movie. And it's, like I said, I think it's going to come out. It's not going to do well. And then they're just going to keep stomping forward and say, well, we'll delay these movies or we'll push them back and stuff like that. So we'll see. It's an interesting time. I do think it's a sacrificial lamb. And I do think that they are just kind of just throwing the towel a little. And it's going to be interesting even too, like for next year is with, there's other delays happening, which we'll talk about with Venom, but with Warner Brothers, they next year have this 45-day theatrical window, right? I don't know. That's I feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot there because they did HBO Max, which who knows, maybe for them it was not worth it. But now it's like, well, you've signed this contract for, go to theaters automatically, then 45 days. I don't know. The only content that I'm banking on right now is streaming stuff, in my opinion. Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max as far as this year, because I know I still wonder what Dune, if cases are really bad, if they'll still delay it or say, hey, it's going to be just theaters open and we're going to wait. But those are the only dates I'm getting excited for. I've told myself I'm not getting Spider-Man this year. I've told myself I'm not getting Batman in March, just for my little geek fandom heart for me to be like, okay, I'm not getting these things. That's easier pill swallow, right? Of like, well, hopefully next year. Lots of good games coming out, so that's good. But as far as TV shows and IP, if it's streaming, I believe the date. If it's not, we're back in that influx again, and it sucks. But we'll see. It's gonna be very interesting to see the first week and especially second week, because you look at that squad drop again. It's gonna get like 78 million, not 78, 7 to 8 million this weekend. Not great. That's very tough pill to swallow. So yeah, let's take our first ad break right now, and then we got some more news to talk about. So I will be right back. Oh, and we're back. So talking about Shang-Chi, let's quickly talk about Venom. Venom was delayed 3 weeks to October 11th, I think it was. And that's interesting because this is what's going to happen again is, are we going to do a bunch of delays, or are we going to delay, the movies we want right now to like 3 weeks to 6 months, and then they're going to get clogged up because already October, if you look at October, and this is where I feel like, yeah, people want to get back to the movies, but if they're scared, I don't know if they're going to want to go back to the movies. And it's also just like, they might, that's the thing I was talking about with Shang-Chi as well, that they might want to be picky and choosy. And I feel like, okay, if it is a James Bond, maybe they will go out and see that. But maybe that's a movie where you go, I've seen Daniel King, James Bond before. I don't need to see another one. Shang-Chi and our Eternals definitely, to me, already needed more selling, like a Guardians. We've seen it happen before, but it's a different era now. I feel like they needed more selling, and that would get people to go, okay, I can sit at home and wait 45 days. So let's see. First showing here. So I just want to bring up the exact dates because October is now just packed. But again, I think most of the stuff will get moved or delayed. So is it really that packed? We'll find out. But October 21st, Addams Family 2, The Many Saints in New York, and Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. So Many Saints in New York, that's HBO Max thing. So that'll hit Addams Family 2. Didn't know what was coming out, and Hotel Transylvania. So another thing in that report was they're thinking about putting that straight to VOD, or maybe like a theater and slash VOD option. We'll see. That one wasn't confirmed from Sony, but we'll see. The next week you have No Time to Die, it's a bomb. Then the week after, so I was wrong about Venom here. It's October 15th. You have The Last Duel, which is not going to get in the way of box office for them really, but still, Last Duel, Howling Kills, and then Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, which I keep forgetting the name of. Just call it Venom 2. But that's tough because I think that, yes, Howling Kills is a horror movie and it's rated R, but I also still think there's enough of a crossover audience there to worry a little bit or not to have it on the same date. But then here's the other days. Dune is October 22nd, and then October 29th is Last Night in Soho. At first, I thought there was one date. Well, all the dates I thought they should put some out were all Sony movies. Oh, well, that's why they can't do that. They had to push them back. So the only one was Last Night in Soho, October 29th. I thought, that's possible. It's still like kind of Halloween much. So Venom is like a little scary, so you can do that. But I I don't think it's gonna be the last time it moves, and then it's gonna be this year. I really want to get it this year, but if they don't, they'll probably delay that to Morbius' spot in 2022 now, and then Morbius will get a different spot, and then it's like, well, what happens with Spider-Man? Spider-Man is just, I think, so dependent on Doctor Strange and the tie-ins and everything like that. But really, I think Sony will play it safely. You know what? It's not worth risking this huge movie to possibly fail. Let's wait where at least things are a little bit better, and we can have that post where Toby and Andrew talk. And I do wonder, is like maybe they weren't going to show in the marketing before, but if they are just pure like, hey, theatricals all the way, I wonder if they will show that stuff just to make sure they get people in the door. So, but yeah, Venom's October 15th. It's 3 weeks delay, so not too bad, but I'm not counting on it sticking that. I'm counting on more movements potentially happening. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time. Now September 23rd is open, so I'm not sure what else is coming out that weekend. Let's take a look here. September 23rd, Dear Evan Hansen or Hansen, whatever that is. Fuck. Clifford was the week before, but that's not coming out anymore. So yeah, not too much. So we will see what Venom's gonna do. I think Venom's fate lies a lot in Shang-Chi's fate, and see how that does, because that's just theatrical, right? And same as Venom has right now, just theatrical. So if Shang-Chi comes out and bites it, yeah, Venom's gonna go bite 2022 and get the hell away. All right, so Moon Knight. Let me pull up a picture here of. So there was a. So someone put out, they're like, okay, there's this potential leak of Moon Knight. Here we go. Damn, I can't do it. Never mind. I'll save it so people, oh, wait a second, I might be able to. I may be able to do it. The joke's not dead yet for you video users, and then audio users. I'll explain it. Boom. So here's the joke. So this Moon Knight picture leaked. It's just a fascinating picture. It's just crazy what this costume's gonna look like. Yeah, that's just a stick drawing of Moon Knight. I'm gonna also probably pull it up on Kirklin too when he gets back. But so what happened was, I can't remember the Twitter user. They tweet out, "Hey, someone gave me this photo of Moon Knight. Don't know if it's legit. I think it, like, the person was like, I think it is, or it looks real. We'll have to wait and see." And on screen it said property of Marvel. And then other people start sharing it, and then you get all those taken down, stuff like that. So it's 100% real. You can find it on the interwebs. You can the GV Discord is in there. It looks fantastic. Now, is it favorite look of Moon Knight? No. And the best way I would describe it as, oh, do I have? Give me 1 second. All right, here we are. So the kind of like whatever the fuck they're called, the dust they're not called dust busters or anything like that. They're the things that like you would put on an on bus or a graphic novel, like the thing over top of it, then you take off the cover and it's like, oh, that's a really cool one. Even though they have the Moon Knight one, which is all black, and then the Moon Knight like logo, which is really cool. But then they also did the Spider-Man ones. I was like, but his suit kind of looks like this one that I'm showing you right now. If you want to know what I'm talking about, look up Moon Knight Omnibus Volume 1 in the church, Bill Sienkiewicz. So it's like very bigger and very like stitched together. It looks more like an Egyptian, like he were to find it in like a tomb or something like that, and it's like, this has been passed on for a generation, like something like that, right? It looks homemade, but it looks homemade in the sense of, like I said, from an older era. It's kind of ripped. It's a type of very wavy, I don't want to, feathery is the wrong word, but it's just a certain type of quality that, like I said, looks homestitched, looks like an origin suit. It doesn't look like it's completely there. It kind of looks like the Iron Man suit, and then once it busted down a bit, that's what this looks like. But I think this will be his first one. Now, I like Moon Knight when he does have the very clean, sleek, white, like some people like the Mr. Knight version. I get that. I think that'll come way later on, because Mr. Knight is a whole kind of different persona in a sense. It's like a fifth one almost. So I think that this suit, if you can find it online, it looks so good though. Like I said, I would want the sleeker one, but I think it's gonna be like Iron Man where he will adapt and change. And I think it works. It looks like body armor big. It, like I said, it looks very kind of ravaged, which I think you'll need. It looks like it's lived in. It looks different. That's what I like about it. It looks very unique and it doesn't look like it's anything else in the MCU that I can think of, you know? Because when you think of the homemade origin suits, that would be like Spider-Man in Civil War where they show his suit or rings back Homecoming. It's like, okay, it's very low tier, right? It's like very like literally stick together. But this, like I said, it looked not the older Moon Knight as far as because older Moon Knight was a bit more secret, but it looks like that early 2000s to 2000s, like right when Eisner went over that era. You have to go look this all up and everything if you don't know what I'm talking about comic books wise. But yeah, I do like the suit a lot. It's good. It has the white eyes, which is great. The reason I like that over having Batman with white eyes, obviously Iron Man in the MCU already has them, stuff like that. But with Moon Knight, when he is Moon Knight, to me, there's not much acting. With Bruce Wayne and Batman, to me, they're one the same. And it's just like, okay, either he has a costume, he doesn't have the costume. But there's lots of emotional or dialogue, drama, heavy centric stuff with Batman when he is Batman in the costume, right? That does happen with Moon Knight. So definitely in the future, that could be an issue. But majority of the acting is going to be like, you know, Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley, Mark Spector. And then when he puts on Moon Knight, to me, is like, that is the ass kicking boogeyman sort of like I'm gonna mess you up for Conchu sort of deal, right? And yeah, he'll have his quips and stuff like that, but I don't think he's gonna have I think he's gonna be very similar. I'm hoping to Black Panther in Civil War, and even Black Panther and Black Panther is it works, it's fine, but Black Panther and Civil War had like like one or two jokes, and the rest he was pretty deadpan serious. I think Moon Knight will be like that. The other characters could be more quippy, but I think he will kind of try to be on a bit more on the serious side, and the costume's looking great. I'm just so happy we got to see anything from him. I can't wait to see like 80 photos and stuff like that, and I'm just glad it's happening. It looks good, but like I said, I think that the majority of the acting will be with the other characters. So maybe down the line, sure, we can, you know, need something to far as CDIs, and plus, you know, that mask is going to come off, right? But what I'm referring to is I like Batman better in the movies with his with eyeballs instead of the white eyes. I want a white eye suit, but I want it where, you know, Nolan, I guess Snyder did too, but Nolan did this thing in Dark Knight where he's trying to find the hostages, right? And then they turn white, the eyes. That's what I want for action scenes too. Like action scenes, anything where you don't really have to have Batman having too much emotion, where the actor could sell better with their eyes. Throw those eyes down, like an Iron Man with the, you know, coming over the head, the same way the metal suit or the armored suit had it in BVS. Do that where it's like if someone throws smoke, those eyes come up. If he's in the middle of a fight, those eyes come up. But the second he is, you know, talking about to Catwoman about their future, let's see those eyes. Let's see those puppies, you know? So looks great. I cannot wait. Supposed to be coming out next year, and yeah, we will see. But as of right now, this show is doing everything. It casts the guy I want. They're using some of the source material I want. The look is not exactly what I want, but it's still like, okay, here's the thing I gotta say too. It's like talking about the Batmobiles. I love all the Batmobiles. This look that he has now, I absolutely love. I have no problems with it. And if they said, hey, this is gonna be his look for the next 10 years, perfect. That looks fucking fantastic. So that's what I mean as far as like, yeah, there's other suits I prefer, but it's just like just looks that are like that's my preference. This look right now, oh, it's a thing of beauty. So we'll see what comes out more. Again, another we'll see. I'm sure maybe they announce like a Disney day. I think it's November 12th. So maybe we'll get like a little preview there if it's early 2022. If not, maybe they'll hold off. Maybe we'll get a poster at least and stuff. So we'll see. That's the most anticipated next to the Batman. That's my most anticipated comic book property happening right now. So we'll see there. Another just quick Disney news is apparently Emma Stone has signed on or closed a deal for Cruella too. So it's very interesting. 2 weeks ago, we got the ScarJo news, right? Like she's gonna sue Disney, blah blah blah. Okay. Then there are these rumors like Emily Blunt might do the same, Emma Stone might do the same. So there's two routes we have here. And before I get to those routes, I should say this makes sense, I guess, that I think people liked the movie enough. I think the biggest thing is for myself, and now I can spoil it a little bit, but it's not massive spoilers. I always said with Cruella, how are you gonna do a movie much like Don't Breathe, where the guy is like kept a woman in a basement and got her pregnant? Doesn't matter if he didn't touch her, he still got her pregnant against her will, which is fucking gross. Let's make him the quasi-hero. Let's make him from his point of view. Now, like I said, I've not seen Don't Breathe 2. Don't Breathe 2, I think I might try to see on a Cheat Tuesday because I just feel like it's when I want to have an opinion on. But from a lot I've seen is the worries I had as far as, hey, I don't know if this guy could be a main character. People go, yeah, this guy should have been a main character. So we'll see if I review it or if I see it, you'll get to know about it. But what happened with Cruella, I was always like, well, you can't have a movie about her because you can't have a movie about a woman who kills dogs, who wants to skin dogs for clothes. Well, that's the thing with the movie. It's not about that at all. She may dislike Dalmatians and they make one little tribute to her killing dogs, but it never happened. It was just like a ruse or something like that. So it's like, okay, it's not about that. So I can see her coming back. If it was successful enough for them to feel like they, can spend that money, then okay, great. What I will say is the movie's very, to me, basic. It wasn't that good. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of, okay, this is fine. I think I gave like a 6 out of 10. It's passable. But the biggest thing is the same way if people don't like Joker, they go, yeah, Walking Phoenix is great. Same thing as this. I would watch another one because I thought Emma Stone knocked out of the park. I always thought she was going to knock it out of the park. That's why I always thought just do another 101 Dalmatians live action. But I think that was a perfect casting for her. And she gave some new layers to the role. So there's no problem with her. I think that, go make the money, everything like that. So as far as the number 2 concept, I'll watch it because I like her in the role, but I don't have much desire as far as the story or plot that they set up, in my opinion. But, maybe they'll surprise me. But so that came after those rumors like, well, Emma Stone's probably going to file a lawsuit too. I feel like there's only 2 ways this went down. I guess there's 3 ways. One, all this went down. They talked to her, cleared everything up before, right? Sure. But that kind of goes into my other first option is it is either that was a lie and she was never pursuing legal action and then people just assumed or got the wrong information, or they went back to the table and threw a bunch of money at her. They were like, okay, you're gonna, like, the same way maybe that ScarJo, they tried that, or maybe she had a problem, she sued them and like, oh, we're gonna fight her, or it's just too far gone. Someone high up might have been like, okay, we really want her for Cruella 2. We were talking about that. There were rumors about Cruella 2 before the ScarJo story took up with like bigger people. It's reporting on it. So it's like, okay, let's sit her down, pay her handsomely for the first one and pay her even more for the second one. So yeah, it's happening. I will check it out, but it's not like a super excitement or anything like that. I'm just very intrigued that this is, as of right now, happening, and they closed the deal when, like I said, a few weeks ago, these rumors were pointing out differently. So we'll see. That's why you can always take even every scooper, even the A+ scooper, with a grain of salt, because they might have a little wrong information, and then the whole story is a bust. So what do we got going on next? I talked about Freak Out already. Box office is going to meet Suicide Squad, stuff like that. It looks like it's doing well. It has an A+ or A cinema score, not A+ cinema score. Best action comedy reviewed. You can go check out my review. I really enjoyed it. A sequel, it's interesting. I'm not going to say much on it now. I'll wait because I know a lot of people won't be able to see it. I'll just say that was not expected to me. Even if it made a lot of money, I just went, I know everybody, same thing. The joke was like Mara of Easttown. I've not watched it, but it's like it's getting the second season after everyone was kind of, no, we one season. I don't think we'd have any ideas. And then probably HBO went, hey, look at this pile of money. Dropped it. Go make another season. I went, okay, yes, sir. We will do that. So I don't know with Free Guy, in my opinion, the way it ended, what more is to explore in the world other than, hey, you like video games and Ryan Reynolds, you want more? Yeah, well, then this is for you. And am I that kid? I am going, yeah. But at the same point, I'm not opposed to it. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. Wouldn't ruin the first one, but it's the case of like, if I only had the first one, it'd be fine to rewatch that again. So we'll see. They had some interesting characters, interesting actors. Check out my review. I don't talk about the sequel there, but I give you a whole rundown of some of the very fun twists, especially near the end. There's some really good shout outs and everything like that. So if you have any interest, try to stuff the internet, because this is one of those, or at least these are one of those I've seen everywhere as far as like, look at this person cameo, look at what they did. So be aware. But if you don't care, then go ahead. It's all yours. So talking about sequels, we'll see like to the beginning, this, Jungle Cruise, Mortal Kombat, Wonder Woman 1984. There's, I think, one or two others. Okay, let's see. You announce it now, but let's see it actually come to fruition in the future, or get like really serious for me to actually buy it. Because Mortal Kombat's this big hit, and they just really praised it. But I thought that would have come with we're doing more Mortal Kombat right away, but no, especially because it was cheaper too. So it might have made less than Suicide Squad box office, but it cost a lot less. So they definitely made more from it. So we'll see. Check out my review, and if you do, thank you very much. Let's see here. I will take the last ad break, and then we'll quickly talk about James Gunn and Suicide Squad. I already talked about a little bit, but just to round out, and then we'll be closing this out for the week. So I will be right back. And we're back. So this is kind of, like I said, some of this is Suicide Squad, but as of right now, they're reporting the Friday showing, 81% plunge. We talked about already, Suicide Squad 1 having a day bigger than its whole income and whatnot. Now, this is the thing that I think Saw TV does. They do updates. So we'll have to see more as far as what they get as far as watching and stuff like that, where it compares a month out, 2 months out, stuff like that. But if we're talking theatrical, yeah, you got to change the conversation. But at the same time, man, 2.5 is not good. That is tough. That is really tough. And that just shows how much the box office has changed, right? But even if you're hoping, like, again, Black Widow, and it's just so funny, right? It's just like, because of how it's done, and I've like seen other people talk about in shows where it's just like, oh, one of the lowest, score or lowest box office MCU movies. They're already done with it. All this stuff. Like, yeah, it is, but at the same point, it's weird what people talk about, because those people talk about that, but they still won't mention too. It's like, oh, it's the biggest North American movie since we got there, and that's a tough thing where it's like, Black Widow on paper looks very disappointing, but if it was the biggest movie in our market currently, the new disappointing is the new norm, which is very scary to think for a while. That, again, I think we talked about this, I think, early on in the pandemic, but the $1 billion movie is a ways off, especially I think before. I think I said, oh yeah, I can definitely hit there again. I think it will at some point, $1 billion movies, but in the near future, no, because we just kind of keep going back in circles. So Suicide Squad box office still not doing the greatest. And then there was some rumors that are coming out around this week as far as Hollywood Reporter, and the guy that put out the thing said, I think he even clarified, like, this isn't a scoop. This is just stuff I've heard talked about or other people talk about, but he didn't mean to write it as like a scoop. He wrote this whole article of like what he could do, because they've said, hey, you're doing something with DC in the future, right? And as right now, he's just been very honest. Said, yeah, I am. So there were rumors someone tried to put out, I mean, it's TRH as well, but he put that out, and then someone else tried to put out as well that like James Gunn wants to do Gotham City of Sirens. He has problems because like one of the characters with a TV show or license or something like that, or they can't do it. So I don't. He saw this tweet and was like, there's no truth to any of this. This article is just speculation. This whole, like, I think it was like, you can't use Catwoman in Gotham City because she's in the Batman, kind of that stuff. But the person that James quote tweeted, it seemed like it was either someone on the lower tier scooper or just a fan. But he corrected them right away as far as like, no, never had any conversations about Gotham City Sirens. He's like, I've talked about working with Margot Robbie more, which to me almost implies like, yeah, does that mean more Harley Quinn, or does that just mean in general? Like, I would imagine after Guardians 3, and he's gonna do one more thing with DC, you would think he might want to do something original. And that's no shot against him, because like, not original, just like original IP, because I'm something that, like, if I was director and I was on that train, I'd be like, no, I'm staying on until I go. This is a world I want to play in. But he said, no, there's no truth that. So Gotham City Sirens out. So this is where, and I always preference this, because some of the GUA people very much dislike him, and I get it. But again, this isn't about opinion of the person. This is just what they put out there. John Campy is a podcaster, but he knows lots of people in Hollywood, has friends. He mentioned on the CRH report that they're bringing up like, oh, James could do Justice League. He said that before Suicide Squad came out, him and other people heard, this is not back in the day when he was being offered everything else. They heard rumblings that they were talking to him about Justice League 2. It's interesting, and so here's the thing. I believe in Campy and his sources, and other people, I believe they talked to him about it. That don't mean shit. It really doesn't, because they talked about doing Superman and that didn't mean anything. So, or lead to anywhere. So I don't know. It's just, I think before, I could be wrong, but I feel like he said something about Justice League or bigger movies where he just said like he's kind of happy being in his corner of the world doing his thing. But I do remember interviews. I think it was after Age of Ultron, and it was kind of clear that Whedon was going to step down, and James Gunn just put out Guardians, so he was hot shit. And I think he got asked a bunch of times as far as like, hey, would you ever direct Avengers? And I swear all the answers I always saw were, no, I don't really feel like taking on something that big at the moment. Maybe in the future, but I don't feel like making that um worth my time. So yeah, it's interesting as far as I just don't see him doing Justice League. I really don't, because when he was talking about Avengers and it being worth his time, I just feel like he likes being, even with Guardians, off the side of it. It's not the main continuity. It's not handling characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, where he's gonna get a bunch of shit over. So that's why it's like I just don't believe that he would do it, like want to do it, unless like, yeah, money does talk, and if they threw like a boatload at him, maybe. But yeah, I think this would definitely be, and not that I wouldn't, because I know a lot of people poo-poo on it. There was this like new place that I think could be a new we got this covered as far as bad rumors, but it's called Giant Freaking Robot. Now they do have this page where it's like scoops confirmed. That's true, there's some scoops confirmed on there, but there's also scoops confirmed on there that are still not confirmed. They are, oh, someone else reported it, like, oh, MCU direct reported it as well, so it must be confirmed. No, it's confirmed when you see it. Like in Black Widow, when they're talking about some certain characters, like, no, much like in the army, it's a kill is confirmed when you really kill, like, confirm it. It's not just like, well, yeah, it looks like he's dead, move along, play Warzone, that'll bite you in the ass. So I just feel like he wants to stay by himself. And anyways, Giant Finger Robot had these rumors as far as like, oh, DC's talking about Taika and stuff like that. And then people lost their shit. The same people like, oh, we really want the director's vision. We want people with unique visions directing DC. We don't want them to be touched. Oh, well, how about Taika Waititi? Well, not him. Not him. I don't think that's going to happen. The same way I don't think James is directing the Justice League. I would be very curious if he did. I would trust him because Guardians 2, Suicide Squad, which I did like, not as much as the first Guardians, but I think there's a way that he very much does adapt to the story. And I wouldn't worry about it. I just don't see him doing that. And I think it would be a very different Justice League. I don't think it would be Radar, because you can't do that. Now, if they do this whole like Justice League versus Suicide Squad thing, yeah, maybe you could say, oh, he'll direct that, and it won't be a Justice League movie technically, but he is on set. He's the guy in charge. I don't know. I just don't. Again, it's just a tough pill for me to swallow, because I don't see him want to be on the microscope, and I don't see them doing that. But like, it would have to happen after Flashpoint, right? It really would, as far as like, oh, here's the new tone and everything like that. But I think they'll get somebody else. I think you won't get a Justice League until after you do like a Flashpoint sort of, split off. But he has been hinting about, hey, there was Superman originally my script, or we talked about it and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel that he wouldn't want to tackle the jail in their current state, or even after it would have to be not a hard reboot, but really make it feel like, okay, James could do his own thing. But now again, this is just talks, right? And maybe it has happened. Maybe we already don't know, but it is just talks that, yeah, sure, Justice League came up, but maybe a bunch of other stuff came up, but because it's Justice League that gets talked about the most, or even the board being like, hey, well, wouldn't you like to direct this team up and stuff like that? And I think he's smart to be in a state where he's like, nope, not going to do that, because like I said, Guardians Galaxy, another DC movie. He has Peacemaker on the move. I think he's happy what he's doing, and I'm sure he's getting paid very, very well. So yeah, that's everything for right now. Like I said, just hitting an hour. So a big thank you to everyone that tuned in to the newscast or the other newscast reviews that I've done. Thank you again, for, as always, for supporting the channel overall. Thank you for supporting myself and the other geeks while they're on vacation. We really appreciate it. And yeah, Kirklin will be coming back. Taylor, I think, might be back the week after. I'm not sure, but I know Dylan's hopefully going to be guessing on some Gamescom, obviously, and stuff too. So this week we have tons of episodes, but then the week after we got even bigger stuff. So if you like what we do, or this type of newscast, Go check it out. Please subscribe, rate, follow, everything like that. So a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in this episode. I promise that when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.